Hey, good morning. Thank you for joining us right here on Vegas Realty Check. I'm Trish Williams. We had a crazy start this morning. Sorry about that.
That was my bad. I'm sorry, Trish. I totally knocked you off right as the intro was coming on. All right. So Trish Williams, Vegas Realty Check, co-host Tiana Carroll. Here we are.
Here we are. We are back after Halloween. We had a big event this last week.
Yeah, it was great.
The trunk or treat
was
that
great.
we put on every year at our office. So that was fun. There was a big turnout. It was
so much fun. There was so many people. The kids are so cute. Everybody was so appreciative. It was just a really great time.
Yeah, we had a great time. And for those of you that came out to join us, thank you.
Thank you.
It was great to see you.
Yeah.
And we do this every year. So
I was gonna say we get a lot of regulars that come through.
Absolutely.
You start to see, a lot of faces. There was a lot of new faces, but there was a lot of tribe members that came through and were like, hey, thanks for doing this. And
yes.
They were so sweet and appreciative, and we're so appreciative of them. Thanks for coming out. It'd be nothing if they didn't show up, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we do these events quarterly, different themes, different things.
Yeah.
So
we have an Easter egg hunt and a pool party, a carnival, trunk or treat.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff, all kinds of fun. We are always putting together some events just to show our appreciation, say hi. We get to meet some people that we haven't met before that maybe follow us and things like that. So that's always good.
Yep.
So what's going on in real estate?
Real estate, gosh, there was barely any news that happened this week. Nothing groundbreaking or shattering.
That was a lie.
Okay, good. Okay, yeah, that was all sarcasm. If you don't know me well, that's my choice of conversation. Sarcasm.
Yes.
We do have inventory rising, though, if we're going to talk numbers.
Yeah, inventory has gone up a little bit. We're getting, we're almost at 4,000 now. We're at $39.95 in single family.
Yep. And we got 387 sold.
Yep. Price decreases are dropping. We're at 430 in price decreases. I've seen a lot more movement this week.
I did.
Yeah.
This was a busy week to 10 days.
Yes. No,
There
absolutely.
was a lot going on. And you had some headlines on interest rates dropping.
Yes, interest rates.
Is that why we're getting busy?
Yes, the Fed met yesterday, and no changes. They did not continue to raise rates this time, so they held off again, which is wonderful. And rates have come down quite a bit. I mean, I'd say about half a point on average.
Yeah.
Over the past couple days. So on FHA and VA, you're below 7s now. You're in the high 6s.
Yep. So if you're out shopping, you can lock in that lower rate.
Yeah, so I think that has caused some motivation for some buyers. I mean, let's be frank, these days, you're talking anything with a 5 or 6 look really good.
Those are the facts. When we were up over 8, I was like, oh, so this is going to be a rough ride. But that didn't last long.
Yeah, because when you hit 8, you're already we're almost at 9. I don't know.
Yeah. It's a mindset, even though we're at 7.5. 7.25 today?
We're hovering around 7.5 today in most cases on conventional.
It's only a half a point. We're like, yay, we did it.
Yeah, because we hit last week or the week before, we hit over 8. Yeah. So
that was a rough morning.
Yeah, it was a rough morning. Exactly. I had sellers calling me like, "Oh my gosh, what's this mean?" I was like, "Yeah, it means people are going to be weary." Mm-hmm. So in other real estate news, this is not my favorite topic, but
yes.
So yes,
you've avoided talking about it.
I have avoided talking about it just because, again, it's such a complex subject, and I mean, if you want my opinion, I think it's bullshit. But
yay!
Sorry, but it's the commission's lawsuit, which is the Burnett versus NAR. We had a verdict come in which found NAR liable.
Yep.
And
big old hefty liable.
Yeah. There's one thing about this, which I have not fact checked this, so I may be giving incorrect information. I've been reading. Oh my gosh, it's everywhere. All the realtors on Facebook are talking about it. All the news.
Yeah.
There's all these people and everyone. The jury met, and then 2.5 hours later, they come up with a verdict, and then people were talking about, well, who is this jury? And somebody had mentioned, and again, this may not be a fact because I haven't verified this or even know how I could verify this, but someone had mentioned that the jury was made up of like 100% renters. So it's
Maybe they're just spinning information to give a reason on why it was. But I was just watching the pop-up news stories that were happening last night, and they kept saying like, you have to pay this. It's a conspiracy, and you have to pay that buyer agent. But we, in this valley at least, we always know that it's all negotiable.
Yeah, I've never.
Most people do it, but
Yeah.
it's very negotiable. You have a buyer brokerage agreement where that buyer commits to pay, and if there's a co-op offered, then there's a
Yeah.
co-op offered.
And I've always, I mean, since real estate school, that was how we've been
Same.
trained to talk about it. So maybe that's what I'm thinking. Like maybe in other states they have different practices.
Well,
but
this was in another state. It
Yeah.
wasn't in Vegas, but they did the national lawsuit, and they named a bunch of national brokerages. Some of those brokerages have settled out of court and paid money, and then some of them, like my particular brokerage, your brokerage, Keller Williams, Gary Keller is adamant that this is not a conspiracy, that without these sort of ability to help buyers pay for that buyer brokerage, that you'd have unrepresented consumers, and that's not good for anybody.
Yeah, and I listened to Gary Keller as he was talking, during the court loss, talking there in court, and oh gosh, he had great points.
Yeah, it's like he's been in the business.
Yeah.
That's what he's talking about. It's so weird.
Yeah.
No, he did have great points, and I'm not saying it's a perfect system, but what system in our country is perfect? Everything's damaged somewhere.
Absolutely. So the NAR president did release a statement to all of us.
Yep.
And in that statement, they claimed that this is not even close to being finalized, and they will appeal.
Oh, yeah, this is
So-
going to be tied up for a minute. It's too big of an industry not to.
Yeah, so it's not
They're not going
over-
to take it lying down.
over yet. Yes, exactly. And plaintiffs are claiming that buyer brokers are paid too much, that the commissions are not justifiable, and things like of that nature. But this brings me to an analogy.
Okay. I saw a grocery store analogy on your notes, and I was like, I can't wait to hear this. Go ahead, girl. What
Well,
you got?
okay. How many of you guys love self-checkout lines? I mean, maybe there's a few. I don't know. But that is when this whole transition took place, people were like, oh, I guess, if the line's too long, I go to self-checkout. But now, people are like, hey, wait a minute. I don't work for this store. I don't, this isn't, I'm not a checkout person. Why am I doing this? My prices haven't changed, and I'm here doing this job that is not my, this isn't my field of work, but I'm doing it now because they don't want to have a person there doing it.
Right.
And this brings me back to like realtors, your buyer's brokerage. I mean, you don't want to self-check out your groceries. Do you want to self-check out your home? Like... Right?
You're like, no. Well, so there's a lot of moving parts in real estate. And I think that it is most people's biggest purchase, that having them unprotected, or at least having a very good knowledge of the whole transaction and the hiccups. Because listen, I've been in real estate for years. You've been in real estate for years. How many deals have you done that have been exactly the same?
None.
Exactly.
And there's so many times that we come across an obstacle, or we come across something where our experience can go into effect and help navigate the buyers through the right way to do it, because we've been down the road before.
And not only have we been down the road, we are held to a fiduciary standard. We have to keep education each week. We have a network of people who support us in our information, in our clients' transaction, and how things work. It's just, I don't know. I can't think that unrepresented consumers would be a good idea, but the fact of the matter still comes down to, it's always negotiable. Sellers don't have to pay the co-op.
No.
They
And there's
do the
times that
co-op-
I've seen in the MLS where they offer zero, and you just have to explain that through your buyer's brokerage agreement that, hey, if the sellers pay this, that's great. You don't have to pay it, but we do have an agreement that says that
Somebody's
the realtor,
gotta pay.
someone's got to
If
get
it's not
compensated.
them, it's going to be you. Somebody's got to pay for that representation, and I don't think it's unfair, obviously, to ask for that. So I don't know. The point of the matter is, people need to be represented. It's never going to be good if everything was for sale by owner and buyers were buying without representation. What happens when those weird things in escrow, or lending or hiccups happen with the deal? Nope. You need help.
The most absurd thing about all of this that I think is it just makes my mind go crazy is there's lawyers that are, obviously fighting this case, everything like that. They think that their compensation is justifiable. I mean,
they do have a few years of education that they're stocked up in that brain that you're paying for. So
right, but again, also, people have the right to represent themselves in court, and everything everything there where they and buyers have the right to represent themselves in a buyer sale without hiring a professional.
And sellers have their right to represent themselves in a sale.
Absolutely, no one is telling them that they can't.
Right.
So, but the lawyers are stepping in and saying that this is whatever it is, but they have a very, very similar compensation model, which they think is justified, but they're fighting, saying that ours is not justified, which I think is very just absurd.
Yeah, I guess I really can't speak to other states and how they run it, because maybe in what state was the lawsuit happening in? I know it's a national suit, but
I don't have it. I don't have
got
it down.
New Hampshire
I'm sorry.
stuck in my head, and I don't even know if that's right. But wherever the lawsuit originated, and that group of homeowners, I think there was 20 of them that came together for the lawsuit. They may have had a very bad experience or been taken advantage of or told that it was mandatory. But the fact of the matter is, at least in our state, the contracts and everything never say mandatory. It's negotiable. You got to check. Do you want to offer a co-op? If you do, how much do you want to
There's a
make
space to fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And there is also a contract. Contract that is mutually signed by all parties. So that to me is also absurd because, in my opinion, when a contract is signed and agreed to, a contract is signed and agreed to. But we'll see where this goes.
Well, I think that the stakes are so high, and it's an entire industry, and it's going to affect everybody in the industry to some degree, that this isn't over.
Yeah.
A verdict came in, we get it, but this is going to be appealed, and there's going to be court after court. I can't see this just wrapping up this week.
And we're talking about billions of dollars in damages, and those costs are going to be put off to someone.
Yep.
They're going to be put off somewhere to someone. It could make the cost of business a lot higher for realtors, the cost of doing business for realtors, if it does come to fruition in that direction. So we'll see.
Keep you posted. We'll keep you posted
see what
on
goes
what's
out.
going
But
on.
we are following rules. So we are following rules. And,
we've always followed rules. Let's throw that out there.
Yeah, and just extra disclosure. So I'm over disclosing just everything, our terms, and that things are negotiable and everything to every seller when I'm talking to them these days and in this environment, which I've always disclosed, but just doing extra, because we want to stay out of trouble. This is it's our business. This is what we do. Also rates are going down.
Yeah.
So we had already talked about that. That is great news.
That is great news for buyers and sellers.
Created some movement. I'm at least finally seeing a lot of sellers that were on the fence on selling, weren't quite ready, starting to decide that they're ready to make that move. So we're seeing a lot more listings hit the market, which our inventory has reflected that. We're hitting almost 4,000. We do hope that number doesn't get substantially high, because that will affect prices.
But we like a nice healthy number, and we want more than a month worth of stock, that's for sure. So now that we're up in that 3, we've got almost 3 months. They're at 4,000, almost 3 months.
Absolutely. So on today's show, we're going to talk about what happens during a showing.
It's not just all about lawsuits and inventory and interest rates here. We're actually going to talk about the buying process when you do go out shopping, which seems to be buyers' favorite part, right? it is the most exciting part about real estate. You get to go and look at houses, and these people have been shopping online, and they get all excited when they're actually in the house. So
And I'm a little bit surprised because, sellers at some point they bought a home.
yeah.
Right? And I don't know if they forget what happens when their home was shown or when they were looking at homes, when they bought a home or whatever. But there's a lot of times that sellers will ask, like, what do the buyers do when they come look at the house? Like, what's going on during this? Because we ask the sellers to leave.
We do ask the sellers to leave.
Yeah.
We do ask the sellers to leave. And that's really for the buyer to really get a sense of the home without any pressure. It's surprising how much buyers feel nervous, pressured. They don't want to open doors. They want to scurry out of the house and not really take a look around when sellers are there.
Well, just think about this. Even if you are not in the real estate market, you put yourself in someone else's house. You're in their space, they're there, and they're watching you, and you feel really uncomfortable. You don't know this person.
Watching is the key word there because they hover.
Yeah.
They want to hear everything. They're lurking in the hallway or they're in the room with you, and you're like, we're good.
Or
Just
they're
move on.
they're walking you through the seller that thinks that they're the agent.
Oh, yeah,
and like to give you the home tour, and you're following them around, but you don't get to look at the things that are important to you because they're showing you what's important
Right.
to them.
They're dictating that conversation. Look I got walls.
Yeah.
Did you see my ceiling? Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, and that is that makes buyers, just want to rush through. And
It's not fair. I like the buyers to be in there, take their time, and really get a sense of what living there would be like. And when there's a seller there, and even another like the list agent, on higher end properties, the seller can have the option of having the agent there besides, but you've already got one licensed agent, so everything should be protected.
Yeah. When we get into luxury, it's very common for the listing agent to show the home, But again, sometimes there's like a lot of features where the listing agent needs to.
Oh no, I agree.
Yeah.
When you get into a luxury home, you want to know all the little bells and whistles that are going to sell the home. I usually like to have very in detailed conversation or preview the home with the list agent and then go back with my client so we have a little more privacy to have open, honest conversations about what they're feeling.
Yeah, or a flip book that has like a list of features and a very descriptive that the agent can use as they're going through the home. So there's lots of options there. During the time that you're showing a home. So first clue, sellers should be gone. Sellers should be gone.
Should be gone.
Take that first note because if buyers are looking at multiple homes, they're not going to get a feel for this one, and this home's probably not going to make their final list.
Yeah.
And front door, we've talked about quite a bit. I think this is one of my pet peeves is front doors, multiple locks, very dirty front doors, cobwebs on them, things like that.
Yep. Or I dislike so much are weathered artificial plants.
Yeah.
They've collected dust. They're faded. They just look janky. Chuck them. We don't need it. We don't need that at the front door. And again, it's not like you coming home through your garage and getting into your house, or like your family coming over. You open the front door and they're in. We're out there for a minute. My clients, your clients, they're standing at the front door while we're around the corner getting the lockbox. And if there's bad reception or the Bluetooth isn't working, it takes a minute. So they might have a good 3 to 7 minutes out in front of that house where the agent's fiddling with the lockbox, that they are already plotting the condition of this house by what they're seeing outside.
Absolutely. So that's a big deal when we're, just the front door appearance. That's a lot of things that buyers will comment on.
Yeah.
First impression as we're going in the house. Once that door opens, let's talk about the smell.
Yep, that's the first thing that hits them. And nowadays with the plugins and things like that, you can have yummy smelling homes, which you should do. If you're trying to market a product, you want to put your best foot forward, and everybody loves a good smelling home. You don't want to walk in there and have leftover food scents or animal scents, or even if it's just heavy cologne, you're wearing so much of it that it overpowers the house. Whatever it is, you want it to be either neutral or appealing.
Yes, absolutely, because that is another thing. There is times that we open the doors and the buyers are like, ooh.
Yeah.
What was that? Like, that wasn't good. Or, oh, this smells wonderful.
Right.
I love this. Like,
Right.
it's everyone loves walking into a great smelling room.
Yeah, I always pray that there's no comment on smell. Like when we open the door, it's neutral and they can go in. And if there is going to be a comment, please let it be. This smells so good.
Yeah, absolutely. Flooring, buyers always, look at the flooring. That is one of their biggest things that they look at, because they want to look at the floor and say, am I going to need to replace this?
Well, it's a big cost.
Yeah.
The square footage of the home, so that adds up. And so they want to make sure that home, and it really sort of is, quote unquote, the foundation of the home, right? On what that home looks like, feels like. If it's dirty, grungy carpet, you feel like, ooh, the whole house must be dirty, grungy.
Right. Or even if there's, sometimes there's decent carpet and it just needs to be cleaned
Or stretched.
Or we're talking to the buyers and we're like, oh, this carpet looks like it's pretty decent. Nice cleaning or stretching would fix it up. But how about getting rid of that before we bring the buyers in there, so we don't have to explain to them it's an easy correction? Because if it is an easy correction, just do it.
Yeah, so much of the buyer's experience happens with the list agent prepping that seller to sell that house, decluttering, keeping it clean. When I'm with my buyers, I usually give out quirky little names for each house, so that way they can remember it, because the street numbers and confusing houses is very common for that. So we were in a house this weekend. We called it the Vanishing Family House. It looked like this family had been vaporized when we opened the front door. Everything was left exactly like they ran out of that house. There's like half-drank Gatorade bottle on the bar stools are out, the dining room table, all the chairs were out, so you couldn't get around. It made the room feel smaller, like the bed was unmade, the video game was still going, like where the kid must have been playing, and they grabbed him like, come on, son, we're out of here. And it was just crazy. So when you have the list agent showing up and they're telling you, keep it clean, have the windows on, have the lights on, make sure that everything is presentable, there's a very good reason for that. They're just letting you know that your first impression is your only impression.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And how many times have you been out showing a home and you walk in the front door and the buyers are like, nope.
Yep.
Walk right out.
Instant.
Yeah. There's times that we pulled up to a property and the buyers are like, nope, the front yard looks bad, just everything. And it's just, that's it. They're done.
Right.
They don't even want to take it into consideration. So that's a big thing. One thing that I do, buying signs are always great to look for when we're out showing properties to buyers. One of the things that I think is the biggest buying sign is when buyers start talking about who's going to go in what room. And I'm like, okay, they love this one.
Yeah, when they're lingering in the common space, when they're placing furniture in their mind, when people are picking out their space, or I'm going to use this for my office, or this is where my gym is going to go, or I would love a media room right here. Then you're like, oh, okay, we're in love. I love that. Let's talk.
Yeah, so that is a great buying sign. And again, you want to make sure that buyers have that opportunity to take it all in, so that they can start moving themselves visually into the home.
Yeah, well, you want that space to be as neutral as possible.
Yes.
They don't want to come to your house. They want to come to their house.
Absolutely.
So you need to have those buyers feeling warm and welcome. Lots of good scent. Make it clean.
Yeah. So not all buyers agents do this. Some buyers will automatically do it, but I know both you and I do it. ACs.
Always check the ACs.
Yes, it is. I mean, we're not inspecting them. I don't even know how to inspect an AC.
Right.
But I will just bring the buyers. We find it, whether it's on the roof, whether it's on the side, wherever this AC is placed. I bring the buyers and I make sure they look at it.
You bring the buyers on the roof?
Yeah, no. I
stand at that. I'm like, there it is. It's up there. Yeah. Do you like that?
Yeah, we find it and we pointed it out. And I'm like, just take a look at that, because there's times that we get to the home inspection and the buyers see the AC for the first time and they're like, nope,
that's old. I don't want it. And if we're being honest, if a AC unit is older, it's perfectly fine in this valley as long as it's been maintained and serviced. Those suckers go for years and years and years and years. On one of my spots, it was built in 72, and I have the same dual AC units.
I think they used to make them better.
Oh, okay.
That's in my opinion, because I see some of the newer ones that don't have as long as a life as those like old 70s and 80s ones that are still running.
Yeah,
it's
they're
like
kicking.
They just made those things so solid back then, and even houses. I mean, I even seen like some of the older houses are just so much more. Solid sound than some of the newer ones.
I have one client who is adamant, if it's not built in 20, 21, 22, 23, she is not interested. And I'm like, I don't know. Some of these older houses really, I mean, there's benefits. They usually have larger lots, mature landscaping, so there's pros and cons. They might have older windows or an AC that will need some tending eventually. But yeah, I do put my eyes on the AC. I always want to make sure that it is running when we're in the house. How's the house feel? Did it feel cool when we came in on a hot day? And then I always look for things like the insulation to see if the cords have been insulated or if they're falling apart, and
there's times that we'll
make
see
sure that leaves and debris are out of there. Just clean it up.
There's times that we'll see very common things that always come up on the home inspection. And if I see them while we're walking through the house, I'll mention to the buyers, home inspector's probably going to bring this up. And, you guys can talk about it during them. But, just show it to them. Just get it out of the way. Why not? Say like, hey.
Well, listen, your job is to be informing them to the best of your ability. And as many homes as we see in a week, when we walk into a house, see a very different space than a first-time home buyer, right? First thing I look at when I go in is I'm always looking at the ceiling. I'm checking to see if there's any sort of like movement on the foundation. I'm looking at water. I'm always opening underneath the sinks.
Yes.
Yep. I'm like, oh, water damage. Okay, we gotta address that someday. But I'm really looking at things. They're just like, oh, does it smell good? Is it pretty? Can I put my couch here? So as an agent, a buyer's agent, you want to make sure that you are pointing out a few different things before you write that contract, because if there's a giant crack in the ceiling, you might be like, that may be settling, but when we have a home inspector, we're going to have them address that just so we know. So that way they're not shocked when they see it on the home inspection.
Yeah, we see a lot of those just here in the valley.
But
those
usually
those long hairline cracks that are like the drywall shifted and cracked. A lot of that. And usually, in most cases, the inspector looks at it and says, no, it's just common
cosmetic
cracking, but it's
settling.
ugly, and it's one of those things that you'll see some of the houses, the sellers like filled it in with caulking and then made it look worse.
They were making efforts. They're just not professional. We don't want to do it yourselfer. We want it to look clean and neat, or we just want it addressed on the seller's real property disclosure, so we're aware of why that's there.
Yeah, or the texture. The texture is the common texture, like knockdown texture in Vegas, which has always been common in construction for many years. It's starting to change a little bit to Santa Fe, which is, I think, way more like user friendly as far as touch ups and patches.
Yeah, I like Santa Fe.
Yeah, but that knockdown, whenever you do a patch on it, especially on a ceiling, because the light hits the ceiling a certain way, it's like totally visible.
Real
it
noticeable.
Doesn't blend in the right way. So those are always things, but usually they're not issues. But we never know. That's why you have a home inspection.
Yeah. We're walking you through. We're letting you know kind of what's going on a little bit in the house, what we're seeing from our eyes to add to what you're seeing with your eyes. But in reality, the home inspection is where you find out that snapshot of the condition of the property.
Yeah. And baseboards. Baseboards can make a house look so dingy.
Or they can make them look so nice and so clean.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like coming in before you sell your house and running a bead of caulk on there and like painting those baseboards is a real refresh.
Yeah, it just makes a room look cleaner, makes a room look better. It just baseboards make a big difference, and such an indicator of water damage, moisture damage. Floods. How many houses have you been into where you've seen the baseboard all warped around
You're
the
like,
bottom, and you're like,
wavity,
"There's
wavity."
been water on this floor at some point in time."
Yeah, it stood for a minute because it waved an entire baseboard.
Yeah, so huge indicator, and those are things that experienced agents that have shown a lot of homes can notice right off the bat that hey,
I've
this
seen a lot of
doesn't.
inspection reports.
Seen a lot of inspection reports.
Yeah, and there's always things on the inspection report, right? Like that self-closing garage door always needs to be adjusted. There's never like the tip bracket on the back of the stove.
Yeah.
I laugh. I'm like, so when you get your home inspection, I can tell you a few things they're going to point out instantly.
Yeah, no, it's the attic storage and the garage, and whenever I see those, people are like, "Oh, great, it has a garage ladder," and I'm like, "Yeah, your home inspector's going to tell you that's not good."
And nobody's ever going to go up there except for your home inspector. So there you go.
Yeah, so they will. If you're doing an FHA or a VA loan, they'll have you seal that off. So say goodbye to your attic storage.
Right.
Yeah. So those are just things that we learn along the way. But during a showing, overall, the buyers are going through. They're looking at things. I had sellers ask multiple times, especially when they're living in the home, like, "Are they going through my drawers?" There is no reason why a buyer should be going through your dresser drawers.
Right. Anything personal property, I don't let them touch. Open cabinets, open doors.
Yeah, cabinets, doors, closets, but they should not be looking through your personal belongings.
Nope.
And that's
Nope,
why
nope,
they're accompanied by a realtor, and the realtor is
Agreed.
there to make sure that we have standards and
Yep.
we're
Keep
doing-
everybody together. If you're in
Yeah.
a family of 5, we're traveling all 5 of us together. We're not wandering on our own.
Yeah, absolutely. So those shouldn't be concerns. I mean, we can't speak for everybody, of course, but those
No,
should
just
not should not be concerns. But typically, buyers are just they're looking at things about the home. They're critiquing you and how you live. So keep that in mind.
They are. That's another reason you shouldn't be there. Sometimes if you get the honest ones, you don't want to have to hear what they say.
Yeah.
We usually don't get a lot of honest ones. People are afraid and want to leave, but every now and then you get the people who don't care that the seller's there, and that's why I'm right away. I'd be like, "Oh, what's going on with that wavy baseboard over there? What is that smell? What are you doing here?"
Yeah. Yeah, do not. You will be offended.
Yep.
So yeah, basically, I mean, those are the things that happen. Oh, yard. One more thing before we sign off on
Before
this.
we wrap it up.
Yeah, if you have pets in your yard, clean up before the showings.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
in the Vanishing House. There was, everything. It literally looked like that house, the family had vanished when we opened the front door. They were there living their life and then they were gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
living
weird.
in a house that you're selling is very different than just living your life in your house.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it is buyers a lot of times are like, they live in homes, and their homes could very well look like this.
Oh,
but
or worse.
They're shopping for a new home. They have higher expectations.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
They're getting new, they're upgrading. It's exciting for them, and I want it to be exciting. I want every house I take them to be a little bit of, oh, I love this house too.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to walk into homes where they feel uncomfortable or dirty or they need to take a shower after and they're like, okay, we got to go.
Yeah.
I want, because that's the best part of the buying process is the shopping. The rest of it's contracts and negotiations and due diligence and less exciting, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes buyers will return to the same home in this market to look at it a couple times before making a decision.
That's not uncommon,
So-
especially right now.
Yeah, so those are always good buying signs. And whether you're if you're on the buyer side, that's an indicator that you really love the home.
And
if
the
you're,
same for the seller. If they're
Yeah.
coming back to your house, you're gonna be like, "Oh, I got one. They like it.
Yeah, they like it.
Gotcha."
Yeah.
Just
So
kidding.
they usually don't return twice unless they're really considering the home. So
Yep.
that's a good thing to keep in mind as well. Well, we are done. So
Real quick before we go, I just want bathroom clutter. Like when I take a listing, I bring a caddy and I'm like, your toothbrush, your toothpaste, anything you set on the edges of your
it
tub or
underneath.
whatever, put it in the the caddy, and then shove it underneath, pull it out when you need it and put it back, because we want everything to be as clean as neat. And then things on the countertop, only 1, 2
3. I allow 3.
Oh, you're so kind. I'm like, all of it needs to go. Take your cookie jar and your coffee pot and your teapot and your utensil holder. We need 1 or 2 things on that, and that's it.
I say you can pick up to 3 things that you can't live without. Like for me, it would be a coffee maker. Like don't make me put that away. But pick 3 things you can't live without. Everything else has to go.
Yep. Same thing with like the bathrooms and the kitchen, and also thinning out your closets. Taking about half of the things in your items, whether it's off-season clothing, throwing them in a vacuum bag, put them in a cardboard box because you're moving anyway. Because when buyers open those closets, they want to see that they have storage space. And if it's stuffed to the gild with 15 years worth of your stuff, they're going to think, oh, this house has no storage. Actually, this house has 15 years worth of storage. There is so much stuff in here, you just can't see it.
Yeah, it could be a huge closet, but if it's overstuffed, it makes it look small.
I want to see like space in between each and every hanger and 1 or 2 sets of shoes on a shoe rack instead of 50 overflowing and dumping onto the floor. Like really thin out everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's okay to accumulate stuff. It's okay to have messy houses. We live in it. I got stuff on my house sometimes. Sometimes it's clean, sometimes it's dirty, whatever. It's life. But it's different when you're living in a house that you're selling.
Absolutely. Okay, well.
Okay, now we're wrapping it up. If somebody does want to get a hold of you, Trish, to go look at these beautiful homes, how would they reach you?
702-308-2878. You can call me or text me, and I will respond and help you out on looking at homes, on selling a home, on anything like that. And Tiana, how do people reach out to you to buy or sell a home?
They can call me or text me. My cell is 702-379-9948. We want to thank you so much for joining us again on Vegas Realty Check. And if you are enjoying the content and supporting this, make sure you like, share, and subscribe because we love having you here as part of our community. And we don't want you to miss out on anything.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday. Bye, Vegas.
Bye.